Right now, we have no specific or credible threat that is designated on 9/11. We're always watching. We're always vigilant. We ask the citizens of our country to be vigilant. The motto we have is see something, say something, something everybody can remember, something that helps us all collectively participate in our security. But right now, no specific or credible 9/11 threat against the country. Well, that's very impressive, and we talked about that and what is going into that. And let me pause just a moment because I too want to add to what the senator said about those who perished this weekend in defense of our nation and to further our nation. And the two from here, I know the flags are at half-mast, but I think we all pause a moment in their honor and their sacrifice. So we're sorry, and I am very sorry about what happened.
Well, that's an excellent question, and I want to say we're going to be struggling to put our budgets together because this nation has a great challenge before it. We've got to find a way to reduce spending appropriately, which is at its highest level in 50 years, driven in large measure by the aging of our population, 2 wars that were unpaid for at the time that we were engaged, an economic downturn that's robbed us not only of jobs in all of our communities, but tax revenues coming into our country. But we also have a challenge because the income coming into the federal treasury is also at 14%, which is the lowest level it has been in over 50 years. So our spending is at the highest level, our income is at the lowest level, and it's going to take raising revenues coming into the federal treasury as well as cutting spending in order to balance our budgets and move to a place where we were not that long ago, where we had surpluses in our view. Now we have only years of deficits looking at us. The Secretary and I are going to be working very closely together to put our budget together, which is $42 billion. And I chair that committee, and we've been spending a lot of time these 2 days talking about now that the compromise was done, and unfortunately it didn't accomplish all the goals that we had hoped, but one thing it has done is to give the Senate an additional $1.5 billion over the House mark on Homeland Security, so we can add back some money for Coast Guard, for cybersecurity, for some assets, Border Patrol and security. If you realize what this agency has to do, FEMA, you know, we have to be very careful where we cut in this agency because we've got to give the nation protection. So while the budget will be less than it was last year, Tom, it will actually be $1.5 billion more than the House mark, which I thought was well below the requirements of our country. Let me just say one more thing, and I know we've probably got to leave, but I want to be very clear with the press that this visit is really about, it's an extraordinary opportunity for this community because the department has basically, in this $300,000 grant, decided that the work that's going on here, children, and your teachers and parents is so spectacular in training students and teachers and engaging the community colleges and the colleges of tech and other universities, that they want to use this as a model for the whole country, because the challenge for the nation is how do we train the workforce of the future? So they went all over the country looking, and they found, now I was encouraging them to come here anyway, but when the staff came down to look at what was actually happening here, lo and behold, they thought, oh my gosh, the model for how to train teachers and students is being done so beautifully right here in Bossier. How can we replicate this around the nation? And the Secretary may want to say a word about it, but I want this community to be very proud that something that you organically came up with, the camps, etc., and we had the teachers testify and the parents this morning, that the Secretary is now looking at this and her team as a model for the whole country. And maybe you could say a word about that.
Indeed, that's true. That and the uniqueness here is the integration of different elements. You've got the military base with all that brings. You've got the contribution from the community of the land and the zoning overlay. You've got the CIC right here. You've got the private sector involved, because they can help set what standards and requirements are necessary. You've got the camp, you've got training of the teachers, so you've got the education system involved. So what is unique here, and what really makes us a cyber integrated community, is that you have now invested in and have all of those elements present. And now we can begin to see, okay, how does that integration grow? How does that seedling grow? And begin to see how that can be replicated across the country. So I would echo the senator and simply say that what you have here is a great thing. It deserves your continued and sustained support. These young people who have these skills will have great futures in our country. And that's a very exciting thing as well. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to see it with my own eyes. There's nothing like seeing something and hearing from people who are actually performing the activity, doing the teaching, designing the curriculum. It's much better than any memo you can read in Washington, D.C. So it's great. And I really think you should give yourselves a round of applause, because it's great.